Hello everyone. I know I'm the last one, so I'm gonna try to be as light and as quickly as I can. So I'm gonna present one of the topics I'm working in my thesis, that is the role of mosquitoes in epidemiology of Francisella tularensis. So a little introduction. So Francisella tularensis is a bacteria that causes a disease called tularemia. So this bacteria is intracellular, so it means that normally when it infects an animal or a person, it reproduces inside the cells, like we can see in this image. And the hosts it normally lives in are lagomorphs and also small rodents, and it can also be found in arthropods like ticks or mosquitoes. So it's important to note that this disease is zoonotic, and that means that it can be transmitted between animals and humans. And the main way that both animals and humans can be infected is through, for example, contaminated water that could be sprayed through sprinkles or through direct contact with contaminated environments or other animals. So, the bacteria is divided in 4 subspecies, and here in Europe we have the subspecies Holarctica or type B, that is less virulent than, for example, the type A that is found in North America. And it is normally bacteria related to cold environments. And inside Europe, we have countries, for example, like Greece, where that is considered free of tularemia. We have countries with low positives like Germany. And then we have countries like Sweden, Norway, and Finland, where they have the most cases in Europe. For example, in 2019, there were 17 cases in Sweden. That is considered the biggest outbreak in the last 50 years. I know that is not too much, knowing that we have a lot of cases now of COVID, but this is like a very little disease, that having such a big number is important. Then we have other countries, mostly Mediterranean, like Spain, Turkey, or Portugal, where the disease is considered endemic. Endemic and also emerging. That means that the incidence has increased recently and probably could increase in the near future. So here in Spain, the part of the country most affected is Castilla y León, that is where we are right now, and 95% of the cases that are notified in Spain are in this area. More precisely, Tierra de Campos, that is the area that you have there in red, is where most of the cases are concentrated. And this is due to the agricultural use of this area that concentrates a lot of animals like small mammals and lagomorphs that I said before. And what about mosquitoes? Well, we know that mosquitoes are very annoying, but they are also very important because they transmit a lot of diseases. For example, malaria, that is produced by this parasite here called Plasmodium, or dengue, caused by that virus that is there. But the mosquito is considered a vector, and a vector is, as who says, a living organism that can transmit infection pathogens between humans or from animals to humans. And the big question here to relate mosquitoes to tularemia is, can they transmit bacteria? So I will answer that later. But first, I want to just briefly talk why this is related to forest management and landscape management in general. So for putting one example, we know that one of the main drivers of the disease is the common voles. And the common vole is really common and have increased in the last years in Tierra de Campos. And this is probably due to the increase of the use of the land and the use of plants that need water to be grown. So there is an intensification of the terrain, so that goes to an increase in the disease. Another example, this time with the mosquitoes, is that in the literature, a lot of studies talk about how increasing the intensification of the use of forests or another things like deforestation increase the population of mosquitoes on those areas. So that means that probably these actions, deforestation, intense use of the forest could, at the end, increase the prevalence of the disease. So, as I said before, mosquitoes as bacteria vectors. So there's not a lot of studies about Francisella, so we have to look for another bacteria that could be related to mosquitoes. And two of the biggest examples are, the first one is Bacillus anthracis, that causes anthrax, another zoonotic disease. This is normally transmitted by beating flies. There is another arthropod, but some studies have found this bacteria in mosquitoes and also have found an immune characteristics that could also relate the bacteria with the transmission of the disease. The second one is a big group of bacteria called Rickettsiales that, for example, cause anaplasmosis or scrap typhus. And this is normally also transmitted by another arthropod, in this case ticks. And also there have been a lot of studies showing that there could be transmission through mosquitoes. So yes, we can say that Francisella could also transmitted by mosquitoes, but that needs to be studied. So then what have the people done with Francisella mosquitoes? So the first thing that was done was as simple as infecting cell lines. What are cell lines? So cell lines are cells normally taken from an animal that are cultivated in a plate and are used for different types of experiments. And in this case, you can see that if we infect the media where the cells are infected. Other important thing that has been studied is transstadial transmission. Transstadial transmission is the way that the bacteria could go from between the different life stages of the mosquito, from larva to an adult mosquito. And this has been controversial because there have been studies that say that this happens, and others say there is a little bit strange. And also, another thing that has been studied is the potential of mosquitoes as mechanical transmissions. That means that they could transmit the bacteria without the bacteria multiplying inside the mosquito. So, about prevalence, there have been studies both in the Mediterranean countries where no positives have been found before, and also in other countries like Sweden or Alaska in the United States where there has been a number of positives. So, for example, in Sweden, due to this high number of positives and the relation between cases where there has been bites of mosquitoes and they have been positive to the bacteria, we can say that there has been a mosquito transmission. We can say the same about the Mediterranean countries, but what we are wanting to try to do is to demonstrate the same thing in Spain. The last thing is that the bacteria mosquitoes are very related to water. I'm going to try to go quickly here. And the bacteria is probably present in water in two ways. First, inside free-living amoeba, and also forming biofilm, that is a way that bacteria can become more resistant and forming kind of a tissue inside the water. And this is important because these two are ways that the mosquito larva feeds. So if we can demonstrate that the bacteria goes from the larva to the adult and that the larva eats these two things, we have a link there. And last of all, about the future and what we want to research about is first doing a census about what mosquito species we can find in Castilla y León. Then do some experimentation, because all the experimentation that has been done with mosquitoes and Francisella has been with tropical mosquito species, and we want to try to work with local mosquitoes both from here and from the Scandinavian countries. And also we want to do more prevalence studies here in Spain. Thank you to all the people involved in this and all the places, and thank you very much for listening.